So, Hooters is one example of go woke, go broke, especially when the way you do business is anti woke by definition. Now, the woke ideology has witnessed many changes throughout the years. It originally started with third wave feminism, which believed that women that are promoting any type of sex appeal are being exploited by capitalism and the patriarchy. And so feminists went against booth babes at various conventions. You know, like if you had an actress that was dressed as an elf in order to promote World of Warcraft, they would go against that. They would say that the company is exploiting her. And just so you can understand the hypocrisy and the reason why most people were abhorred by this practice, is that there was this chick called Zombie Unicorn, an influencer on Twitch, who is famous for painting her tits on Twitch. Like, she got her breasts out, right? And she started painting over them. Like, that was the content, which, by the way, I have nothing against. Because I want the entertainment card. Like, if that's what people want to see, who am I to be a chucklehead and position myself between what the people demand and what she wants to do, right? And so, I was fine with that, but she didn't reciprocate. You see, she wasn't a tolerant person like I am. She actually went to an E3 convention and complained about the booth babes and started attacking the company. It's like, oh my goodness, like, it's so exploitative. And so, like, Twitch, which allows her to paint her tits and they take a cut of the super chats and she take, like, that's liberating, right? That's great. But what she was doing when she was attacking other women that do the same job as her, that's not okay anymore, right? Like, anyone that's part of that is exploitation. It's horrible. And you get to see, like, all these hypocritical people all of a sudden dominating society. Like people without any morals, people without any type of principles, pretending that they have principles, pretending that they have morals, just so that they get to be placed in an elevated position and lecture other people about what jobs they can and can't have. And, like, this is the problem when you listen to them, right? Because they will never be happy. They will never be satisfied, because if they don't have principles and they don't have morals, they don't really want to change society, right? They just want to pretend that they do so that they can get super chats, so that they can be part of the grift. And so, like, that was the beginning of the woke ideology, but then it moved on to trans issues, where now it's all about representation, and it's all about gender abolitionists, and the question is like, well, why can't Hooters hire a trans woman? Like, they should hire a trans woman, right? And it actually got on the main page in many articles. It's like, did you know that some of the Hooters, that they have penises, and was like a big thing, and everyone was celebrating, everyone was clapping, at least in the press, right? Like, at least in the good circles of society. In reality, it seems that that didn't work out very well for Hooters. You know, like, the customers are bigots, as usual. And they decided to take their money elsewhere. So again, like the whole thing with Hooters, if you're unaware, it's a very famous brand. Like, here in Europe, I don't know if we have Hooters. Like, we definitely don't have it in Romania. But even though we don't have it, I have heard of them. And even South Park, you know, they made like that famous show, that famous episode with raisins. But like, the idea was that you're going there in order to have beer and fries, maybe a hamburger, and you have like these very gorgeous, stunning, beautiful looking women that are serving you. So, you know, they go out of their way in order to find the most beautiful women in that town in order to hire them, and they're just doing waitresses, right? Like, it's not a strip club, it's not anything like that. Just, you go to a place where you have like the most gorgeous, beautiful women imaginable in order to serve you food. And it caters to a specific demographic. It usually caters to young men, right? Like teenagers, they're finishing their studies at university, and then they're going to Hooters in order to drink a beer and have fun. But apparently, again, like, that's creating harm to society. So what needs to heal society is to have Hooters that have penises, and it's also to have like fat, chubby, like morbidly obese Hooters, so that representation happens. So that, you know, men have realistic expectations. And that did a lot of damage to their brand, to the point where they're going bankrupt. And now they're trying a re-Hooterization. They're like, okay, you know what? Like, let's put away the mental illness and let's go back to what worked. Like, let's try to redo what actually worked for us. Unfortunately, you know, the reason Hooters is doing bad, a lot of people are pointing out, is that, well, it's not 2010 anymore. The main issue is that a lot of people order out. Like, they don't eat outside, right? Like, they don't go to a restaurant. They like to order from Uber Eats, or they like to call in, and they like to eat at home. And so it doesn't really matter what waiters you have if people don't go to the restaurant. And to that I want to say, no bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Like, I go out all the time and I see restaurants that are filled. And that is specifically nonsense. You know, there are still people that want to connect with others. Like, yeah, okay, you can get your food at home, sure. But there are still people that, you know, they want to go out and drink a beer away from their wives. So no, like, this is actually a good business model. Like, I'm sorry, no, you're wrong. And on top of that, I would also say that there's more people that order now than there used to be people that would go out to order food back in the day. Like, back in the day, at least in my country, and I think like this was the case almost everywhere, a lot of people would rarely go out. Like, maybe they would go out like 3 or 4 times a month, you know, usually during the weekends. They would rarely go out to eat, right? Because it was expensive. Like, most people like to cook their own food. Nowadays, almost everyone from my generation constantly orders out. I know people that don't even cook. Like, they just constantly, you know, order out. And so, like, the businesses for these food joints actually has more customers rather than less. Like, there are people that never would have gone to a restaurant that I know when I was a kid who now constantly order out. So, if anything, like, the ordering just adds to the customers rather than remove. So, no, like, I do think that Hooters does have a possibility of coming back. I'm upset that they didn't go with my idea. Like, my idea was that instead of Hooters, they would have gone with Spookers, right? So, like, you'd have an entire restaurant dedicated to a theme, which would be goth, right? So, like, you have all these girls that dress in a goth attire, and it would be called Spookers. Wouldn't that be cool? I think it would be cool. But still, the Re-Hooterization. I'm actually curious, and I will follow this to see if it's a recipe of success. Because if it is, it goes to show that if companies change the mindset and they stop listening to the moral busybodies and instead actually listen to the customer, which is the only person that a company should listen to, they may achieve financial success.